Hello everyone and welcome back to Woodle Adventures Deluxe. And this is the level I was talking about that had a lot more atmosphere than the others so far. Has a very consistent theme with all the hexagons and the yellow and orange and the bumblebees. Very obviously trying to resemble a beehive. I think it works. I think it looks real cute. Landing on the hexagons can seem kind of freaky. But you know, just have faith. Just keep jumping. Have faith in your platforming abilities and it'll be alright. This part, though, this part's kind of hard because there's a lot... Because there's a lot of downward climbing on slopes, and Woodle's momentum is really intense. But, the biggest punishment you get for falling down is just having to start the level over. The levels aren't super long. There we go. So it's not that bad. But there's a lot of slopes here, and Woodle's momentum is so intense. You can also see there are those little, what would you call those water spouts of wind gusts from a couple levels ago. They give us extra height. There's nothing really to say about them except that you want to jump at them from the bottom, because otherwise you'll kind of go flying off. That one was my fault entirely because I didn't notice those platforms were hollow. If I noticed they were hollow, I wouldn't have fell down there, so that's my bad entirely. I should have been paying more attention. That one wasn't Woodletree's momentum, that was just all me. Sometimes it's hard to remember I have the projectile leaf after I get it. But most of the time I remember, and it makes the game a lot easier, because we don't get chased by monsters anymore. I keep forgetting Woodle has a sack because it doesn't get bigger in this one. It's so small. It's just a little blue circle. It also makes the dialogue in the opening not seem as important because the tree says that the sack will be essential to our journey, and in the original it feels more essential because it gets so much bigger when you collect these berries. But in the Deluxe remake we're playing right now, it doesn't get bigger, so it doesn't feel essential like the big tree said it would be. I feel like there's another difference that I'm overlooking between this game and the other one that I should be talking about. I'm sure it'll come to me in a bit. Oh yeah, this version costs $5 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. But the original game on Steam only costs $2.99. They did add some stuff to this one and change a couple things that aren't super important, but I don't think it's worth the extra money for the stuff they added. You'll see the stuff they added really shortly, but I think just getting the original for $2.99 is a really good deal. So if this looks interesting, you should probably just buy the original version unless your computer can't run it. Or maybe you should buy the Switch version so that way they port Woodletree 2 to the Switch for me. It's up to you, but if you're if you're really concerned about getting the most out of your money, I think it's safe just to get the Steam version, because it seems to control a little bit better. And even though it's missing polish in a couple of areas, it's mostly the same game. The Deluxe subtitle in this one's kind of a letdown. But I bought it anyway because I love Woodletree, and it's Woodletree Adventures, but on the Switch. So now that we finished that level, we have 520 berries, and that's enough to buy the next leaf upgrade, which shoots a projectile that goes way longer and is bigger. And it's also enough to gain access to the level exclusive to Woodletree Adventures Deluxe. Here it is. This level we're going to play right now, this level is only in the Switch version. So if you're going to get Deluxe, it's really for this level. All the other changes are really minor things that I only think I would notice because I'm a fan of the game. But this is where the Deluxe name comes from, is this extra level. And I don't think the extra level is really worth the extra money. It's not like the level's bad or anything, but it's missing the charm of some of the other levels, and it has a very different style of play than the other levels too. It's the most open level in the game, and it's distinctly not even a little bit linear. It feels more like a traditional 3D platformer world where you have to wander around a big area looking for collectibles. And it's easy not to get lost in this game. You know, I wouldn't say it's easy to get lost in this level, because the berries make an excellent marker for where you've been and where you haven't. So it's really easy to figure out where to go next. You just look for a trail of berries, and if there's a trail of berries, then you haven't explored there yet. So that's super easy. But the design and layout is way different from the rest of the game, because the rest of the game is way more linear than this. And this level's a lot bigger and takes a lot longer to complete. But another reason I don't like it so much is because, it just feels like a mishmash of the aesthetic from all the other levels. All the other levels have a really unique aesthetic and design to them. You know, there's stuff in those levels that feels special about those levels. Like, remember the bubble platforms in that one level? Sorry, the soap platforms in that one level? And remember the beehive hexagon platforms? And, you know, stuff like that. That's just kind of missing in this one. This one just feels like a bunch of a generic 3D platforming scenery. And it's really pleasant looking. But it's not a... it doesn't feel like a unique location, if that makes sense. It doesn't have the same kind of stuff I like about the other levels. That's not to say I didn't have a fun time. But I had a fun time for very shallow reasons here. I just like walking around collecting the berries because they make a fun noise when you pick them up, and the platforming feels good. And sure, the game still looks pretty, but it could look pretty in a better way like the rest of the game. The fairy tears are really tucked away in this level. You may have noticed that Woodle moves a little bit slower in water. This doesn't really come up though, because you never have to do any super important platforming while you're running across water. By the way, if you want to get back to the center of the level, just jumping off a ledge is way easier than going all the way back. Because I don't think there's checkpoints in this one. Or there may be, but the checkpoint system kind of doesn't work, as I already said and demonstrated before. It'd be nice to see more NPC characters that live inside houses and stuff. But that's the thing that happens in Woodle Tree 2, which is a very different kind of game. So maybe they were just saving that idea for a less linear experience. In Woodle Tree 2, there's actually friendly characters that sell you things. And the world is much more open. It's more like a traditional 3D platformer, focused on exploration, as opposed to this game, which is mostly linear. Except for this one level, which is a lot more open for some reason. And it kind of sticks out. And I'm not sure if that's good or not. Because it's not as memorable even though it's longer, and it changes the design a bit. I don't know why I jumped over those bad guys. Maybe I just wanted to show you I could or something. I guess we could talk about the enemy types some. Some of them run at you like the green monster and the rock looking guys. Most of them just stand still, or meander a little. There's one that throws projectiles, but I'm not sure if you'll get to see that, because I usually defeat them before they get the chance. But that's about it. They're not really a threat. The platforming is the main challenge, but that's not super challenging either. This reminds me, Fabio Ferreira did everything in the original Woodle Tree game. He did all the programming, all the art assets, all the music. You know, it was his game. He made it himself, by himself, without any help. But for the Switch version, he got an assistant programmer. And I want to know if the assistant programmer designed this extra level, or if Fabio designed this extra level. Because this extra level feels a lot more open. And maybe it feels more open because Fabio moved on to Woodle Tree 2. So his design sensibilities changed toward more open-natured stuff. And that's why this level's different from all the others like that. It's just a thing to think about. I really want to play Woodle Tree 2. Oh yeah, I just remembered something really important about the Deluxe version that's super different. In the original Woodle Tree Adventures on Steam, on the PC I mean, but it's also on Steam. In the original Woodle Tree Adventures, there was couch co-op, which was kind of weird for a PC game, and I could never get the couch co-op to work. Because the control setting up controls was kind of weird for two people. And I just couldn't get the two-player co-op to work. I wanted to know what it looked like, you know, and I never found out, so I thought the Switch version would be an excellent opportunity to find out what the co-op is like, because I never got to see it. But the Deluxe version removed the co-op. I can't... The co-op's just not here anymore. Maybe there's something I'm not noticing, you know, maybe I missed it somewhere, but I've tried everything I could possibly think of. And the co-op just doesn't seem to be here anymore. Which is really sad, especially since, you know, PC games, they're usually associated with online multiplayer and not couch co-op. PCs are almost never associated with couch co-op. Even back when heavy online play wasn't a thing, there were LAN parties and stuff instead of couch co-op or couch multiplayer. Consoles are much more associated with couch multiplayer, so it's so weird that this got a console release and it doesn't have the couch co-op. It's really, really out there. And I gotta say, I am a little disappointed with my purchase because I can't do the co-op. Because, you know, this is my brother's Nintendo Switch and it'd be nice to play it with him. It's also the only way I could ever get him to play Woodle Tree, you know? So that's sad in itself. The level's over now. So with that level finished, we have 841 berries, which is a bunch, because that level has a bunch of berries, which means we can get the final leaf upgrade. We could almost get the karate headband, but not quite. The final leaf upgrade gives us more range, just like the last one. And I'll see you guys next time for the final 2 levels.